Let me be blunt with you. Rachel Reeves doesn't wake up in the morning excited to raise your taxes, but with the state of the public finances, the promises Labour's made, and the rules she's chosen to live under, jacking up taxes is basically the only move she's got left on the board. In this video, I'm going to walk you through why she's boxed in, what other options she could have taken, and what all of this actually means for you over the next 5 to 10 years. I'm Ed. I work with UK businesses every day, so I see the real-world impact of budgets and tax changes, not just the headlines and sound bites. I'm not here to cheerlead for Labour or the Tories. I just want to walk you through the maths and the politics that make higher taxes almost inevitable from this point. So, let's start with the mess she's inherited. The UK is already borrowing eye-watering amounts of money every year. We've got government debt sitting at pretty much the same size as the entire economy. Just paying the interest on that debt costs tens of billions a year, and because so much of it is linked to inflation and interest rates, when rates went up, our national credit cards suddenly got a lot more expensive. On top of that, we're already at one of the highest tax burdens we've seen in peacetime. So we're in this weird place where taxes are already high, borrowing is already high, and yet public services still feel like they're on their knees. The NHS has record backlogs. Local councils are literally going bust, prisons are full, social care is underfunded, transport is creaking. So it's not like Reeves walks in and can just say, right, I'll slash spending and everything will be fine. There's no easy fat left to trim without breaking the stuff people actually rely on. Now, layer on the rules she's chosen to follow. Reeves has basically handcuffed herself to two big things. Number one, she's promised that government debt will be falling as a share of the economy in 5 years' time. That's her fiscal rule. Number two, she absolutely does not want to repeat the Liz Truss mini-budget disaster, where the bond markets freaked out, borrowing costs spiked, the pound tanked, and suddenly the UK looked like it didn't know what it was doing. So she's spending a lot of time reassuring investors and the markets. I'm boring, I'm predictable, I will follow the rules. The problem is, in the background, growth and productivity forecasts have been cut. The official forecaster has basically said, yeah, the economy isn't going to grow as fast as we hoped. Slower growth means less tax coming in and a bigger gap to fill. At the same time, borrowing this year has already been higher than they'd like, so her famous headroom, the little safety buffer she has within those rules, is tiny. If she borrows more, she risks breaking her own promises and spooking the markets. If she cuts spending hard, she risks breaking the country. That's the box she's in. So, if you strip out all the political noise, any Chancellor has 4 levers they can theoretically pull. Number 1, cut spending. Number 2, borrow more. Number 3, hope growth magically saves them. Number 4, raise taxes. Let's go through them quickly. Option 1, cut spending. Yes, in theory, you can do it. But where? The NHS? Schools? Police? Social care? Local councils that are already on their knees? These areas are already under massive pressure, and Labour literally campaigned on saving public services. Deep, obvious cuts would cause political chaos. So big sweeping austerity 2.0 is not really on the table. Option 2, borrow more. She could turn around and say, you know what, forget the rules, let's just borrow another 30 or 40 billion a year. But again, remember the mini-budget. When markets lose confidence, your borrowing costs shoot up, the pound falls, pension funds wobble, and the cost of servicing the debt explodes. Reeves has spent months telling investors she won't do a truss. If she suddenly pivots to sod it, let's max out the credit card, she risks a full-blown market backlash. That's not a risk she's going to take early in a new government. Option 3, let growth fix it. This is the fantasy option every politician loves to talk about. We'll grow our way out of it. And in the very long term, that's true. Higher productivity and growth are the only real way you properly escape this trap. But you can't pay this year's bills with growth you hope might show up in 5 years' time, especially when the official forecasts have literally just been cut. You cannot credibly stand up and say, don't worry, the spreadsheet fairies will sort it, which leaves option 4, raise taxes. This is the boring, unpopular, but brutally simple lever, get more money out of the existing tax base. And that's why, if you strip away the spin, some form of tax rise is basically inevitable if she sticks to her rules and her promises. And here's the bit most people miss. Taxes are already going up, even before any big splashy announcement. One of the main tricks governments use is freezing tax thresholds. So instead of lifting the level where you start paying tax or where you move into a higher band, they just leave it where it is. Then, as wages rise with inflation, more and more people get dragged into those bands. You don't have to change the headline tax rate at all, and yet you quietly raise billions. It's a stealth tax. You'll also see changes to allowances and reliefs. Things like capital gains tax relief when you sell a business, investment reliefs, pension allowances, stuff that doesn't make front-page headlines but makes a big difference to the people it hits. Business owners, landlords, investors. And Reeves has already started using the language of tough decisions on tax. When you add up the spending plans she's inherited, plus the extra things Labour wants to do, reversing certain cuts, fixing bits of the state that are breaking, there is a big gap. And if you can't reasonably slash spending and you don't want to borrow more, the only way to close that gap is to pull more in through tax. So when you hear lines like, "We won't raise the basic rate of income tax," listen for the small print. The action is in the freezes, the thresholds, the reliefs, the allowances. That's where the real money is. Now, put all of this together and you can see why I say raising taxes is basically the only option for Rachel Reeves, given the constraints she's chosen. She wants to keep debt on a downward path as a share of GDP. She wants to avoid another bond market meltdown. She wants to stop the NHS and other services from completely falling over. She doesn't want to completely betray Labour's core promises straight out of the gate. With growth weak, borrowing already huge, and big spending cuts politically toxic, the only lever that realistically moves the numbers in a serious way is tax. She can dress it up as modernisation, closing loopholes, asking those with the broadest shoulders to pay a bit more. But the bottom line is, the state wants a bigger share of the pie. So what does that actually mean for you? If you're an employee, it probably means more of your future pay rises get eaten by income tax and national insurance, even if the basic rates don't change. You might find yourself nudged into a higher band just because thresholds don't move. If you run a small company, you're getting squeezed from both sides. Staff quite fairly want higher wages just to stand still. Your costs are rising, and then on top of that, you're dealing with a higher overall tax take on profits, on dividends, and potentially on capital gains when you eventually sell up. If you're a landlord or an investor, the direction of travel is towards less generous reliefs, lower allowances, and higher effective rates. The days of being heavily tax advantaged compared to everything else are fading. This isn't free money, someone pays. And increasingly, it's not just the rich in some abstract sense, it's the broad working and middle of the country. Now, we can't control what Rachel Reeves does in her budget. She's going to do what she's going to do. But if you're a business owner watching this, you can control how much of your revenue leaks out in wage costs, inefficient systems, and unnecessary overheads. That's literally what we help SMEs with, using the same playbook big corporations have used for years: offshore staff, better processes, cleaner systems, so that when the taxman takes a bigger slice, you're not the one left with nothing at the end of the month. So, here's what I want to know from you. Is Reeves actually doing the only honest thing by admitting taxes have to go up? Or should she be tearing up these rules and going all in on growth and investment, even if it risks upsetting the markets? Let me know what you think in the comments. I genuinely want to see where people land on this. If you found this useful, hit like so more people see it, and subscribe if you want more breakdowns, just like this. Thank you for watching.